Welcome back to Sailing NV. Happy to have you here.
In this video, we're going to talk about the things you have to consider when upgrading increasing the horsepower of your engine.
From something like this to something little bit more big like this. But for do that, we have to do plenty modification to our boat for have something like this. And we go to tell what kind of engine we choose.
Yes.
Model of Nanni we choose.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
If you want to increase your horsepower by a huge amount, then that would be something you might have to check with the designer of the boat, that it can cope with the higher loads. In our case, we have a race boat, so we had a very small engine, and the amount we're increasing it by, we're pretty confident that the boat can cope with that without having to seek for any confirmation. Additional confirmation, yeah.
Right. When they project for B1 racing boat, the construction will project one boat very strong and rigid. When Nando project the boat, don't consider to design the boat for support one extreme big amount of horsepower. When we consider to increase, we keep in mind we can't choose one engine over a certain amount. We don't want to have 150 horsepower, for example.
Okay, the second point to consider, maybe I'll wait till it's not too windy.
Sorry, we are during the one cyclone. In this area they call typhoon. At the moment there is some typhoon system around to Japan and North Philippines.
Yeah. Another consideration that's important to make is the size of the engine and what that means in terms of modifications to the engine room, the amount of space it's going to take up or eat into.
In one boat the engine room is made from wall and furniture of the boat, can be the stairs or storage.
Yeah.
And that's with our stairs, at the moment is the front wall of our engine room, we don't have enough space. Hi from Sailing NV engine room.
So we're here to take some measurements to see what modifications we might need to make to our engine room to fit this new engine. First we measure the width and find our new engine is actually smaller in this dimension.
The overall of all component is a 55, 56. The new engine overall is 500, is also smaller. In this size is smaller. But,
cool.
Yeah, you can see the cradle. Normally the cradle of the self-drive engine, they are all similar. And also this one have a similar size. Full cradle is 968.3. The cradle, like I say, they are all quite similar. Outside.
Measuring our new engine name, measuring if it's going to fit, you see?
Guarda Nemo, the measuring tape I put in the measurement there on the bulkhead, is exactly where started the cradle, the old seating of the engine. The full seating is 89, you see, is here. 89 is the length, with the one width of 59.
Okay.
We can say 60.
Yeah.
60. And this one is 59.4. Quindi is really similar.
Yeah.
But what change? Our engine is all inside to the cradle.
Yeah.
This one this one is our new engine. For the people they don't know what kind of engine we put Kid Lowland is the new brand of our engine. No. Okay.
What Timo was trying to say here, before he got distracted, is that the major difference between our new and old engine is that the new engine overlaps the engine bed by a significant amount, whereas the old one doesn't. So the overall lengths of both engines are the following.
Allora, concentration guys. Also the gearbox, we go to check now. The old gearbox take the full length of the cradle. You see there? The mounting blocks is exactly in full length of the cradle. Here the cradle go little bit over. That's what I mean. I suspect in the new engine, when I go to include the cradle, the hole to the self-drive is just this portion more forward. Just 3 centimeter, 1 inch more forward. And that is not very amazing because also this 3 centimeter, this 2 inch maximum, we got to lose it forward.
So we're going to have to modify this engine bed so that it fits in our engine room. Firstly, we're going to cut a section off the bottom so that there's room for the propeller to spin below the hull. And we also need to cut a bit off the front and the back so that it fits in our engine room and curves around the bulkheads.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like that.
Modifying the engine bed isn't quite as simple as that, and for anyone interested, we go into more detail in a video over on our Patreon website.
We understood that the full length of the engine is engine plus cradle 1130.2 millimeter. We can be sure arrive exactly in this bulkhead. Okay, the new engine got to arrive up to here. Okay, this is the exactly volume of the new engine. All these parts is the wall of our engine. And the problem is this is the wall of our stairs. Now, if we say our engine is like this, we have to see where these stairs go, how much, see how much space we got to lose it. And how can we know? The angle got to be the same, parallel here. But I have to add 2 panel of plyboard for come forward and move this rail forward up to when we don't touch the engine. Now you wanna know how much is told for understand where arrive the engine, because if arrive here, I mean my stairs have to be moved up to here. If arrive here, my stairs move here. If is here, my stairs can move here. Okay? But I have to always leave the correct space for the engine to shaking forward and backward, and for don't chafing the material, and for have the space for all pipe, cable and other gear. We have to leave the space because the engine when it go forward and backward move little bit forward and backward. When work shaking like this, we have to be sure don't go in vibration and touch the wall. Plus, when we do the installation, I wanna add also the insulation material. Okay? Quindi we go to have 1 inch of insulation material. The height of the engine from the full cradle up to the top, because I go to cut a little bit, that's I mean I can calculate full length, full height, for be sure I included some space, go to be 80 centimeter, 795. Okay, now we go to see here. From the full bottom of the bridge, I calculate that measurement is 79. We can calculate 800 here. It is very good because you see it's the same height, it's not so much.
How tall are you?
How tall am I?
Can you give me some
You're what, Nick?
I'm 60 kilometers high.
You're 60 kilometers high. Well, you're very tall, aren't you? What's up to your
Okay.
face?
Tu mi passi gli strumenti quando è il momento. You take me the tools. I need the tape ready. Okay, we have to mark our engine room for see where arrive the engine.
That's the height of our engine.
This is the volume of our engine here. Arrive up to here.
Okay.
The height. For be sure, we consider 1 inch more, 3 centimeter more. Okay? But every point I going up, more space on my saloon I take it from the floor. Now, the really big question is where we go to be with our stairs. Allora, we go to be like this.
Okay, that doesn't look so much different. It's only that's not gonna change the saloon hugely.
No?
Oh, I was expecting a lot bigger change.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not so
but
bad.
here, I mean, we go
Yeah.
to have one stairs.
So as Timo has marked, like this down to here is basically the new position of where the stairs are going to be. So that's the extra space that is going to be eaten up, or they're going to eat into in our saloon, which actually is a lot better than I initially imagined. So for example, the stairs are going to be like this. So it's really not too bad. So we've been brainstorming how we're going to modify this step. It's if we just move the step to here, it would be a really big jump to get from down in the cockpit over here, which everyone always stubs their toes on anyway, and then onto this step. So our favourite idea at the moment is we're going to cut this step here, so like that. We're going to cut everything all the way across and put a plank here. So this top part will stay here against as it initially is, and then the layer from here down will come out to here. The top panel is going to be back here still, and then the bottom layer is going to come out from here. The lower layer, yeah, okay. So the lower one will look like that. Okay. This means when we want to access the engine room, we'll mostly only be removing the bottom panels, but that should still be plenty of room for us to be able to get in and do what we need. If you imagine we're going to cut it from here.
And the three panel, the top one, because they are support from the plank, they can be removed without remove the low panel.
I put these on here so then they can tell how high is it.
Very good name.
I send it all the way up to because it's 6100 meters ground.
100 meters ground.
Yeah, and 100 meters ground here too.
Nice. We've also got to check how we're going to actually get the engine into the boat. Huh?
The other thing, when we talk about volume, yes, the volume of the new engine have to consider also in the movement from outside to inside. In some boat you have to remove the floor of the cockpit, like the central cockpit. In our boat have to enter from the door of the boat, companionway. Have to enter from the companionway and pass on the top to the stairs. And you have to measure if not only the size of the door, the companionway is enough big from the size of the engine, but also if you have to twist and move if the crane chain, the crane cable support the load of the engine, have the normal vertical access for pass inside.
Another big job we've got coming up is taking off the cockpit roof with all the solar panels on top so that we can get the engine in with a crane. Okay, one other big consideration is that if you're increasing the horsepower and you're getting a bigger engine, a lot of the components will be larger, such as the exhaust pipe, the fuel filters, the water lock,
the fuel line,
batteries.
The size of the filter. Also the starter motor requires more power, and it can be possible also the battery is no more sufficient, no more enough for a start.
In our case, one of the big things we've got to change is we need a bigger exhaust pipe, so we need to enlarge the through hole for the exhaust, and because we've actually got about 8 meters from the water lock to the end of the boat. Timo will have to enlarge all of the passage that pipe goes through, so all those bulkheads, and we need a bigger water lock.
Sometimes they call muffler, but it's not appropriate. The necessity to have that component in the line to the exhaust is for prevent return pressure from the exhaust pipe, because the engine has to push out water and gas, and when put in the water lock separe the pressure and give the guarantee that you don't have the return pressure. Quindi also the exhaust, the water lock have to be studied big enough for the proportion of pipe, engine, and everything.
The nice thing about Nanni is that they actually have a catalogue with all these parts in them, so it's been so convenient. We've been able to tell them what we need, additional or extra, and they have just made a list for us, which is great, and they will include that in the engine shipment when it comes, so that's been very helpful.
And not only, you have also the support from the specialist of the company for a choice the appropriate component. And normally you are alone, you have to go in the ship channel to choose what I need for this engine, but is a lot more relaxing to have one company that not only sell to you the engine, but help you to choose the correct component, and the quality of the component that is in the catalog is very high.
Yeah.
And
like for example, here in this north tip of Borneo, we've been unable to find the right exhaust pipe. They don't have the one with the metal bending wire in it.
The exhaust pipe for both? Pipe, yeah. No, the big one, the exhaust pipe.
Oh, here, Timo, look. Isn't that exhaust pipe?
See? Yes. Here there is a good pipe for the 1 inch for the coolant system. Good quality. This is nice. Exhaust pipe. Exhaust pipe.
Great.
Maybe it's not a very good quality. There is no. The one with the
Metal wire.
Metal wire. Only you have this one. Yes. No, you don't have.
Nanni can send us this as well in the package, which is so great. They can send it all the way to the end of the world here in Borneo for us. So one other thing to mention briefly is, of course, when considering how much horsepower you want to increase by, can be money, because it's not only the engine itself that will cost more, but also all the additional components. A larger engine will also require more fuel consumption and more expense for maintenance. So these are also things to consider. And one last thing to mention is we did briefly consider shifting to shaft drive.
We think about if we want to pass from cell drive to shaft gearbox drive, and change from one propeller for a cell drive to propeller for a shaft drive. But in the end, we are sure we want one normal cell drive, like the one we have before, similar but new.
But in the end, we decided that would be an even larger modification and more expensive and eat into more of our space on the boat.
For some reason, I really like the cell drive. Also, if somebody is stressed about the big seal,
Me.
but I really like the non-necessity to alignment of the engine.
Anyway, that's personal choice, I guess. But
personal choice. I think about, but also if I want to have a shaft drive, I always say in other video, I want to build one system with a retractable shaft. At the moment, I'm not ready to do it. Plus, the shaft, if I start from the engine room, for exit the boat, I have to cut half of the nav station. Is one compartment I really like to conserve like this, because it's a quite historic for the history of the boat to conserve like nav station.
So finally, we could reveal what we've chosen then now.
Yes, is a 60 horsepower, is a 59 precise, and the model is
N4.65. If you
the N4.65.
Yeah.
I'm sure who of you got to watch, got to say, there is the turbo, blah blah blah.
It's quite efficient use of space, I think, the turbo.
I really have a engine with turbo I quite like. If you manage also to choose the amount of power when the turbine start to work, you can keep in the minimum of the work of the turbo, and you can manage to have a lot of propulsion but not many consume. And the major problematic with the turbo is be careful with the oil, and never have to stop to circulate the oil, and when you do the changement of oil you have to do one properly job. That's it. For the rest is one normal, very powerful engine.
So the next steps for us are to modify the steps and plan the rest of the engine room mods.
And the other big job for Joanna is continue to follow the procedure to shipping and importation to the engine in duty free, because we are both in transit. Plus we start also to book the yard and talk with the management of the yard for another extreme all out for sailing MV.
We're going to look at the tides.
We are the week before of the possible haul out, and we are not in the full tide, but this week and the next week the tide, they are very massive.
Check for cyclones, check for typhoons in the Philippines. And
we don't choose the moment when we have to do the swapping of engine. Is coming the moment to do it. Unfortunately, it's coming during the raining season plus typhoon season of the area. It's not super relaxing to know it can be possible when we are outside of the water at 5 meters from the ground. 100 kilometer knots of wind can arrive on the yard. 60 knots or more. There is another important news. Tao, your sister, they arrive very soon, in 10 days. Like this, Nemo and Tao, they rejoin to Nami and Thea. The whole family go to be joined again. Nami, Thea, Nemo, Tao. Nami, Thea, Nemo, Tao. Nami, Thea, Nemo, Tao. And solo. 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 Va bene? Stay with us! See you soon! Nanni Diesel.
if you'd like to support us on Patreon or with a one-off donation on our coffee website or via PayPal, I'll put the links in the description. Thank you! If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could click the subscribe button, like, comment, share it with your friends, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
One big amount of power horse, because it's not made the hole into the hole,
The hole into the hull.
the hole into the hull. Video, parla tu inglese, non guardare l'altra parte. The hole into the hole.
Hole into the hull.
The hole into the hull.
Yeah.
Then I wanna add also the insonorization material, the foam for the
Insulation.
insulation material.
The hull of the boat.
The hull of the boat, the foam of the hull of the boat have to be cut, the cradle have to be cut